Now, this is really a federal question, but I think it's a good one to ask and one I've asked all the candidates. And that is, I think it's fair to say right now, from wherever you come from Connecticut or Texas, Democrat, Republican, young or old, that the federal government right now isn't working for us. I think many people would say that. You have an economy that's in shambles, federally and locally. You have candidates saying that we need to make jobs but cut spending, something you can't do. We have a Senate right now where if you don't have 60 votes, it's extremely hard to get things done. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Is this a problem that can be fixed, do you think, in 2 years, in 4 years, or if ever, or is there something bigger to it?
Well, I could get into a very involved lecture on the founding fathers and what happened with the U.S. Senate when they were designing it and the like, and the inherent intransigence between the parties at this point. But I think we need to focus on constructive aspects. It's very easy to complain about government. It's very easy to say that it's not being responsive, that they're mucking things up, that they can't do anything well. But as I said before, we need government. So it's our obligation to figure out ways to make it better. Back when James Madison and Alexander Hamilton were writing the Federalist Papers, they acknowledged that there would be factions, that there would be political parties, that there would be special interests. We have become way too beholden to those special interests. There's no longer much by way of statesmanship in Washington. People are far more likely to be partisan and ideological and captured by those who are lining their pockets for their next election than really stand up for what's best for the majority of Americans. We need leadership. We need people who are willing to risk their elective careers in order to do the right thing. I believe there are people, such as Jim Himes, who are doing a wonderful job of not merely going up there to represent their constituents, but trying to do the best thing for the country. I still have hope, and I think that we need to get past our natural inclination to denigrate what goes on in government and really expect more from our elected officials to do the right thing on our behalf, even if it hurts a little bit. Some of these things are not going to be pleasant. They're going to affect our sense of entitlement. But to do the right thing for the long term, for your generation and for the next generation, requires us to make some sacrifices. And I think that we need to, as a country, come together and acknowledge that we need to make some sacrifices for the long-term benefit.
Now, you mentioned Jim Himes. I want you to talk a little bit about the three big races this year in Connecticut, which is the Senate, the governor, and a representative here in Fairfield County for U.S. Congress.
I think it's been a very interesting election cycle for the state of Connecticut. We've gotten a lot of focus on us on a national basis because of some of the races that we have. Let me focus first on the Senate race. Dick Blumenthal has really done for the state for a long time. And yet he finds himself on the defensive in a campaign where he can just run on his credentials because of the effect of big money in this state and around the country. It's an unfortunate phenomenon, in my view, that money could buy an election. I guess it's always been the case, and it can happen again. But the U.S. Senate is too important to have somebody there who basically bought their way in, when there's an opportunity to elect somebody who has a ton of experience and has proven his commitment to the people of the state of Connecticut. With regard to the governor's race, we have had a Republican governor for a long time. I think that it's time for a change. I think Dan Malloy has really demonstrated his leadership abilities and his getting results for what he's done for the city of Stamford. And I think he'd be a wonderful leader in conjunction with a unified legislature to really bring about some positive change and streamline government effectively. And as I mentioned before, I've met with and talked with Jim Himes a bunch of times. He's really bright. He's really dedicated. He's not in anybody's pocket. He has a difficult district, which is made up of some very conservative and some more liberal constituents. So it's a hard job finding a middle ground, but he is certainly bright enough and capable enough and committed enough to be very effective on Connecticut's behalf, and I think he deserves another chance, another 2 years, to prove what he can do on our behalf.
Now, I want to ask you this. Obviously, you are a Democrat, but the way that the Connecticut has been, and even forgetting the Republican governors, there's been a extreme majority of Democrats in the House. Do you think this is a good thing to have that much of a majority of one party or the other?
Well, the two-party system in itself, as opposed to a parliamentary system, has its pros and cons. And, there are those who feel at this point a pox on both your houses for both Republicans and Democrats. And certainly you need to have diversity of point of view. And as I've said, I'll take a good idea from whatever quarter. It's not a matter of ideology for me. So I think that the arguments about the supermajority of Democrats in Hartford are really an excuse on the Republican side. Democrats should listen to Republicans' ideas, and everybody's point of view should be heard. But I'd like to believe that the Democratic majority in Hartford is not monolithic. It's not homogeneous. There are real factions, and I hope that there'll be a whole group of people like me who, if they get to Hartford, will be part of a fresh cohort, fresh thinking cohort, who are going to bring about some change and challenge that status quo. So for me, it's not about ideology. It's about good people being elected and being prepared to do the hard work to bring change to government.
All right, now let's move back to your race, and simply put, why should you be elected as the state representative of District 136?
Well, I think that I've demonstrated to the people of Westport how committed and passionate I am for Westport. I've been on the RTM now for 7 years. I've been elected the deputy moderator unanimously for 3 straight years. I have served in a leadership capacity on any number of committees, both for the RTM and for the town. So I put my time and energy where my mouth is, so to speak. I think I've demonstrated leadership. I've developed the consensus building skills, and perhaps most importantly, I've proven that I'm a problem solver, trying to get us a movie theater back in Westport. We've been talking about it for years. I'm trying to do something about it. Yeah, our downtown really looks pretty bad. All the mom and pops are gone. It could be anywhere in the USA, and there are a lot of boarded up storefronts. I want to revitalize downtown Westport. I want to create some nightlife. I want to make it a safe haven for teens. When I grew up here, we had 4 movie theaters downtown. On the Post Road, we had 2 miniature golf courses, a bowling alley, and a skating rink, a year-round skating rink. All those things are gone. We can't turn back the clock, but I'm prepared to make the incremental steps to make things better. So I've demonstrated my commitment and my passion, but I also think I've demonstrated I have the skills and the experience to be effective very quickly in Hartford, that I won't be standing on the sidelines, that I can participate in making things better very quickly, even as a freshman representative up there. So you have a track record in my case of passion and commitment and service to the town of Westport. And I think that I've demonstrated I have the skills that will be essential and relevant to being effective on Westport's behalf in Hartford.
All right, well, Mr. Steinberg, thanks so much for coming in. Best
My
of
pleasure,
luck to
Eric.
you. And
Thanks
more
for the
on
time.
Trail will come back right after this.